Hello League fans. In this video I will be listing my top 5 mid laners as of patch 5.20. Assassins and AD mid laners will not be included in this list. Note that this list is based on my personal experience and a little bit from win rates. So let's begin with number 5. Malzahar. Malzahar is a champion you don't want to play against. He has a great laning phase with his ability to push extremely fast. His Q is an AoE silence that deals a great amount of damage as well. Silences are really strong in the mid lane, obviously, because most of the champions that play in this lane rely on their abilities. His W deals damage based on the enemy's maximum health, thus him being able to shred through tanks easily. His E not only being a really high damaging ability, but it also has a mana regen built in it. Whenever the E kills an enemy minion or champion and spreads to the next enemy, you gain mana. His ultimate not only having a 120% AP ratio, but it also suppresses the enemy's movement and makes the enemy basically useless for about 2 seconds. All in all, Malzahar's damage per second is amazing and it's not something to look down on. But like every champion, he still has his cons. Malzahar has no escaping ability, so he basically relies on his flash if he's running away, making him extremely vulnerable to ganks. He's also squishy, like every mid laner, so if he gets caught, you'll need to play off some amazing plays in order to get away. His Q, being the AoE silence, is kind of hard to land if you haven't mastered it. A big problem with Malzahar's laning phase is that he's really mana hungry in the early game, so you don't really want to use your abilities quite often. One last thing is that his ult can be easily countered. It's a channeling ult, so if Malzahar gets interrupted or moves, the ult is cancelled. It can also be cancelled by QSS or cleans. But enough with Malzahar and let's go straight into our number 4. Lux. Lux is a high-ranged mid laner that is extremely frustrating to lane against. Her Q can snare up to 2 targets and dealing its full damage to both, not mentioning that it also applies her passive to both targets hit. She has an AoE slow with her E, which also has high burst damage. She has an AoE shield that is not a laughing matter. It can really help teammates suffering from ignite or basically any type of damage. It can help more than one ally, including herself. Her ult comes back every 30 seconds with 40% cooldown reduction, which is basically what you will get with a typical Lux build. Her combo deals really high burst damage and can kill almost anyone if she's ahead or at least not behind. Lux's problems are similar to that of every mid laner. She has no escape, so she's extremely vulnerable to ganks. Sure, she can snare the enemy jungler or slow them and run away, but the chances of her actually getting away are not slim but definitely not high. She's too squishy, so if she gets caught, it's bye bye for her. She still has her shield, but that won't really help her if she gets caught. She's kind of a weak champion early game. She doesn't really deal the damage she needs to deal, and thus she relies on farming in the early game so she can transition beautifully to the mid and late game. Lux is skillshot oriented, even her shield is a skillshot. So if you're not good with skillshots, I don't recommend trying her out. Last but not least, she has mana problems, so she heavily relies on blue buff, Morellonomicon, or Athenes. Anivia. Anivia is a champion that I always have trouble against. She's one of mid laner's best farmers, with her ult and Q. She has lots of CC abilities, having a Q that is a slow and a stun, her ult that is an AoE slow, and her wall that can block off enemies, and in some cases interrupt them. She deals enormous amounts of AoE damage. Just pull to your ult where the fight is occurring and E a squishy. Bam! They're gone. She does have every mid laner's problems, but she has her passive to compensate for them. Her passive revives them, thus making it discouraging for enemy junglers to gank you, unless you're pushing too hard without warding. All in all, she deals absurd amounts of burst damage that you won't see coming. But as all champions in the game, she's not perfect. She still has no escape and is too squishy. though she can use her stun and wall to get away from ganks, which is why she is higher on this list than the past two champions. Her Q is difficult to land if you're not used to it, and her basic attacks are really hard to farm with. And like every champion on this list, she's mana hungry, so you need to get her a tier of the goddess. Brand. The reason why Brand is so high on this list is because, well, you'll see. Brand farms nicely with a few options on how you want to farm. You can W the minions and then E them to spread the E. You can Q one minion, E the minion to spread it, and then W to deal the passive damage to the minions. With Brand, you will want to get 40% cooldown reduction, because if you do get that, you basically get a stun every 2 seconds. The stun lasts for 2 seconds. Combine that with Rylai's and bam, you have an extremely OP champion. His spells are not short ranged, but they are not really high ranged like a Lux or Zerath. And last, thanks to his W and ult, you will find Brand getting more assists than he actually deserves. But also, Brand is not perfect. He has no escape and he is too squishy, like every champion on this list. He can stun an enemy jungler, but it's just too expectable, and they will try to juke it. Not only that, but it takes 2 abilities to get your stun off, which is sometimes too long. Brand has trouble catching enemies because his stun doesn't go through minions or other champions, so there isn't really a good way to intercept the front line of the enemy team. Lastly, he is mana hungry in the early game and also relies on early blue buffs. And now we have our number 1 spot that almost everyone knows who it will be. Veigar. Veigar has shown extreme power in the past weeks. Although he did not receive any type of buff, people are starting to play him now more than ever. Being the champion with the strongest burst damage in the game, he could delete anyone if he's a good Veigar. Veigar can theoretically get unlimited amounts of AP due to his stacking Q. With changes a while ago that made his Q hit 2 targets, it's now even easier to stack up your AP. He has an AoE stun with his E that is extremely efficient in teamfights. He has an AoE W that deals 100% of your AP plus a big number. Isn't that just amazing? His ult deals 100% of your AP plus 80% of the target's AP. So if the enemy has 1000 AP and you have 1000 AP, you'll be dealing more than 2k damage to the enemy with just one ult. Veigar has an easy time picking off the squishies and deleting them from teamfights, though he still has a few cons. He has no escape, but his E is great for escaping ganks, if you place it correctly. He is squishy, so if his stun is on cooldown, you have no other way of getting away. He is mana hungry early on, but his passive kind of helps him a little. And he does not have the best laning phase and heavily relies on farming early on so he can become the monster he is in the late game. So that is all for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more videos like this one. If you have a different list, feel free to share it with me in the comment section down below. Thank you very much for watching and goodbye.